Morning, Steve Free in Chicago with the grain comments. Overnight grain prices are lower, led by the wheat market. Outside market looks like stocks are higher, the dollar's higher, crude's higher, and gold's a little bit higher. As far as the overnight grain news, I think markets are trying to take a break from the recent sharp rallies. Usually managed funds, if they go on a buying or selling spree, it's usually over a 3 to 4 day time frame, and today would be probably the last day of them buying unless there's some new news. Technically, we might be overbought and due for some kind of correction into next week's USDA report. As far as weather is concerned, it looks like over the next 30 days, about 60, maybe 65% of Brazil will see normal rains. The driest areas will be in the south and the northeast. 40 to 45% of the Argentina area could see normal rains over the next 30 days. But January 12th and 14th, there looks like a pretty good front that moves across most of Argentina, dropping rain across Argentina. So we also might be taking a little risk off during that rain event. Bottom line, though, is that most people think that the South American crops are lower than USDA's guess, and that eventually we'll see a pickup in demand for U.S. Soybeans, soybean meal, soybean oil, and corn that will tighten our balance sheet and push prices over the recent highs. We also note that world vegetable oil prices are higher because of talk of lower supply, and that we'll be watching China pretty closely to see just how much more corn and beans they will buy from the U.S. We've got export sales today. Again, the wheat and soybean numbers may be on the low side, whereas the corn numbers may be on the higher side of what we're doing of late. When we go into the report, we have certainly a lot of numbers. The USDA, the average guess for our carryout for corn is around 1,600. The government's 1,702. For beans, it's 139. The government's 175. And for wheat, basically unchanged at the 862 level. We'll get our first look at winter wheat acres. The average guess is 31.5 million acres versus 30.4 last year. We also will be getting some revised South American numbers. The average guess basically for Argentina corn is 47 million bushels versus the USDA's 49, and their soybean crop 48 versus USDA's 50. Down in Brazil, most people look for their corn crop about 108 versus the government's 110, and 131 for the beans versus 133. We have heard numbers as low as 44 for both Argentina corn and soybean crops, maybe a number around 102 for Brazil's corn crop, and a number maybe closer or maybe even below 128 for the Brazil soybean crop. Early yields out of some of the early harvested beans in Brazil is 15 to 40% below what they did last year. Farmers in general are still not selling a lot of corn and beans, which limits some of the hedge pressure over the market. As always, these are my thoughts and not those of ADM Investor Services. Have a safe and profitable trading day. Remember, always treat people like you yourself would like to be treated.